Today, I'm going to be talking to a Harvard student who's about to major in mechanical engineering. And you and I will find out how he got into Harvard and what are some different ways you guys can get into Harvard.
What started everything was me getting into the presidential school in Tashkent.
If I'm a student who doesn't go to a presidential school where you had the privilege of taking A levels, what would be alternative to that?
Why I'm choosing Harvard for engineering rather than MIT or Caltech. And Caltech and MIT, they just put too much emphasis on engineering and STEM, while at Harvard you can explore many different things while also being deeply involved in what you want to study. So you don't have any time to get sick or to break a bone and miss a few classes or get in the hospital and miss a few classes, because once you miss something, you're gonna end up in an endless cycle of trying to catch up for other things by missing some other things.
I really wonder what are the things you found out about writing at Harvard you did not know up until that point.
And then they tell you to build a robot, cutting long pieces of metal. Everything needs to come together perfectly. Even if like a certain part is like a millimeter off the measurements, it might shift the center of gravity. When you go to college, you have starting expenses, which definitely will add up to a lot of money, like buying a laptop, buying an iPad. Especially if you're a STEM major, everyone goes there, and the first thing they do is they buy a MacBook and buy an iPad with an Apple Pencil. That's like the given that everyone must do.
He said programming language of the future is going to be English. Like if you just know English, you're a programmer. You know how to program. So that tells a lot about what the future of programming is going to be like. What is your most favorite anime of all time?
Most definitely Attack on Titan. It took me like watching it twice to properly understand everything, and then watching a recap on YouTube to then fully understand everything. And there are still to this day like little foreshadowings that I only find out through reels. When someone is like, oh, there was a foreshadowing like this and this. And I'm like, I feel so stupid for not noticing it after even watching the show 3 or 4 times from start to end.
Cool. All right. Let's save some of it for the podcast. All right. So you tell us when to start.
Hey folks, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Astra Muse. I'm your host, Mohammed Ali here. Today, I'm going to be talking to a Harvard student who's about to major in mechanical engineering. And I'm super pumped to be talking to this guy. And you and I will find out how he got into Harvard and what are some different ways you guys can get into Harvard. So if you guys are curious, please keep watching. But before I give the turn to my guest, I really want to ask you guys, if you want to support us in any way, please hit that subscribe button. All right, it's time to finally meet our guest, Mr. Abdulaziz. Hey.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, right. You came all the way from Tashkent to be on this podcast, and I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to our audience who's watching the podcast right now. So, all right, let's dive in.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to beat around the bush, and I really want to get straight to the point today. So, tell us how you got into Harvard. I know it's a long story, but we want all of it.
Yeah. So probably what started everything was me getting into the presidential school in Tashkent. So that was 7th grade, 2019, I think, or 2020. I transitioned to like an English education system at the presidential school. There were A levels and stuff like that. Starting from grade 9, we started studying IGCSEs, which are like the education system before you do A levels. So after finishing my IGCSEs in 9th grade, I transitioned to A levels in 10th and 11th grade. And while doing all of that, I already knew that I wanted to study somewhere abroad, but I still had no idea of how all of it works. And I started exploring all of it in depth only the summer after 9th grade, I could say. But before that, I was just doing activities that I liked and that I enjoyed doing without knowing that I will be using them to apply to the US or use them in my common application or my resume. So from 7th grade, I was doing Zakovat, which is like quiz bowl at my school. And then I was also involved in student government and some minor types of volunteering in my school at events. So I was just doing all of that, nothing crazy, no big personal projects until like 10th grade, I could say. But I was just enjoying my time, studying, focusing on academics, making sure my academics are perfect, like so that my GPA will be high when I'm applying abroad. And then somewhere around ninth grade, I set myself a goal of applying to the US. So I started researching it a bit more about how the application process goes, what the Common App is, what a personal statement is, what supplemental essays are. I started researching all of that. I found out that I need to take the SAT, the IELTS. So I think 10th grade, I started studying for the SAT, and then in 10th grade, I took my SAT. I got a 1560 on the SAT, and then like the summer before 11th grade, I took the IELTS, and I got an 8.5 on that one. So I was done with my stats, and I knew that my GPA is going to be good. And all that was left to do is maintain good grades on like A-level subjects, which were for me math, physics, and chemistry, so that I could get good predicted grades for the A-level exams, which would happen sometime in June, and then get good grades on the A-levels themselves. So my teachers knew that I do good on exams and that my preparation is going fine. So for my predicted grades, I got an A star, and an A. So I was really happy with that. That also went with my college application. So in terms of stats, everything for me was near perfect. I was extremely happy about everything related to stats, my GPA, test scores, predicted grades. And considering that my school was like accredited internationally and they knew that we study A-levels there and that a high GPA from my school means like carries a lot of weight, I was really glad that I was able to show that I can handle academic pressure. But apart from that also, I did stuff outside of school which I really enjoyed. So ever since 7th grade, I was participating in Zakovat with which my history teacher was hosting at school. But when my history teacher left the school, me and my friend, we decided to co-found a Zakovat club in our school in 10th grade, and it's still running by like other people. We could say like we put new people at the like host position every single year to make sure that the club is running, and like it's known as like the biggest and like longest running club at our school to this day. So I'm really happy about that. Like we used to host, and it's still hosted like bi-weekly quizzes, monthly thematic quizzes, just to like make people more interested about intellectual games and like quizzes and Zakovat and things like that. And apart from that, I was also simultaneously a part of our school's Zakovat team. So from 2023, I think, the Zakovat Federation of Uzbekistan started hosting leagues for high schoolers. So they started hosting a high school league and then a university league too. So we started participating in the high school league. So basically like you play a weekly game with 24 questions, and every single school across Uzbekistan can register and send a team of 6 players. So in 2023, it was 550 teams competing all across Uzbekistan, and including our team. We were showing up every week, going to the venue, playing the game, and then going back to school because we lived in a boarding school. And 2023 was a very successful season for us because the year has 3 different Zakovat seasons. I think it's like winter season, summer season, and then like fall season or something like that. And in 2023, like our school team, we managed to get like the first place in Uzbekistan across all 3 different seasons. And so tallied up for the whole year, our school won the first place for the Zakovat High School League in Uzbekistan. And then in 2024, we continued competing when I was already 11th grade. We didn't get first place finishes because now we were more focused on A-levels because we had to study more, put in more work into the academics. But we were constantly in like top 3, top 2, top 5 in the league. And one of the major things we achieved in 11th grade with the Zakovat team was there was a competition between all PIMA schools, which are like 14 presidential schools, a bunch of specialized schools all across Uzbekistan. So first they hosted a regional tournament where our team won the first place in Tashkent, and then we moved on to the nationals, and teams from PIMA schools all across Uzbekistan came to Tashkent, to the place where Zakovat is hosted, and they all gathered to play a game of like, it was 4 rounds of 12 questions, so 48 questions in total. So the same competition, we participated in it last year too, but since it was our first big non-league competition, we did like really bad. I think we got like 19th place or something like that. But then in 2024, we managed to, so after the first round, we were somewhere in the 20s. We were not doing good. But with each round, we were like climbing up the leaderboard. And by the last round, we managed to get second place in the whole competition. So probably that was like the biggest achievement that we had in terms of Zakovat. We got nice prizes, recognition, and a bunch of other things. So Zakovat was like a major part of my high school experience, I could say. And other than that, yeah, running clubs at school. I was running the Zakovat club and then running a club where we taught like juniors SAT, IELTS, and stuff like that. And apart from that, I was a part of our student government at school. So 10th grade up until 11th grade, I was just like hosting events like talent shows. And since it's like a boarding school, events mean a lot to us. So I tried my best to help our student government, like as a part of our student government, to host fun events for the students at our school. We hosted things like a talent show or like a national food day, international food day, sports events, and stuff like that. And in 11th grade, I became the vice president of the school, and I was more involved in like being a bridge between the students and the school administration, helping the administration understand the students and the students understand the administration, to come to a consensus between each other, to address certain problems that we had in the school, and still continued hosting events and stuff like that. So just things I was really interested in school.
So just a quick question. Going back to your academics,
Yeah.
if I'm a student who doesn't go to a presidential school,
Yeah.
which you did, where you had the privilege of taking A-levels,
Yeah.
right, which is not offered in regular public schools.
Yeah.
What would be alternative to that? If I wanted to go to Harvard, get into Harvard and show that I'm ready for academic rigor, I don't have the A-levels
Yeah.
because my schools don't have that. So what's the alternative?
The easiest alternative is taking like a couple AP exams, because A-levels take too long to study for. And so I believe that it's much better to take like 3 or 4 AP exams rather than do 3 A-levels, because completely studying for 3 A-levels from scratch might take you like at least a year or two. But you can study for like a couple AP exams in like 6 months if you have a good foundation. And now that AP exams are becoming much more popular in Uzbekistan, you can take them in Tashkent, you can take them in Samarkand. And like there are more places which administer them, and more students are like getting like information about them, so the opportunity is becoming open to more and more students. I think now it will become a given in the admission sphere that everyone must have a couple AP scores. Like I believe the admission sphere is just evolving just like any sphere would evolve. So like back in the day where an SAT was a must, now that and now AP exams will be a must too, in my opinion. I think we will see people having like AP Calc, BC, or people applying for STEM subjects, for STEM majors, taking AP Physics, AP Chemistry, people applying for humanities majors, taking AP US History, World History, Politics. So APs are a really nice way to show academic readiness, in my opinion, and I think people should seriously consider them. And the time where they should start consider them should be 9th grade, not later than that, because from that point it's just going to be too late already.
Unless they're taking a gap year.
Unless they're taking a gap year, yeah, because AP exams are taken around May, I think, and the results are out in June. So the results are out after the decision has been sent out for like colleges, because like the decisions are out in like April, I think. No, AP exams are taken in March, and decisions are out in like late April. No, early April, late March. So the time you should be taking your last set of AP exams should be 10th grade if you study in an 11-year system. If you study in a 12-year system, the last set of AP exams you're taking must be in year 11. So it's always better to divide the subjects you're going to take AP exams from into 2 years rather than doing everything in 1 year, because it's going to be a big headache if you do everything in 1 year, and that's how it's done in US schools. So people start taking AP exams as early as year 9, which is grade 8 for us. So if you're someone who's in grade 8 right now and you want to study in the US and you're like sure that you're going to do it, take like one or two maximum AP exams in grade 9, and then take 1 or 2 in grade 10, and by the time you're applying, you're going to have 4 certificates ready to send to colleges. And that will put you at a league way above everyone else if you show that you have that academic readiness. Because from what I've heard from admissions officers who like judge the applications from Central Asia, they all say that the biggest, like you could say, turn off when they are
Red flag.
yeah, the biggest red flag, or like the biggest I don't know, moment that they have with Central Asian applicants is the academics, because they see that everyone has like a 5.0 GPA, but they don't trust the GPA system at public schools. So all of them want to see some kind of other measure of academic readiness. And the SAT, just the SAT doesn't cut it. So it's always useful to show that you're like prepared for college, because academics at college are way more different and difficult than academics in high school. Because like I did A-levels in high school, which are already like difficult. They're like beginner college level difficulty. But even compared to that, my freshman year at Harvard was just way more difficult than that.
Just to give us an idea.
Like a scale.
Yeah.
I could say that like in terms of pure difficulty, A-levels were probably like well, subjectively for me, I would say they were like a solid 6 out of 10 in terms of difficulty, like 5, 6 out of 10. But my freshman year, given that I already had the beginner level understanding of certain subjects like math and physics at the college level because of A-levels, I took more intermediate classes in my freshman year rather than the beginner classes you're expected to take. And considering all of that, I would say that the difficulty was like an 8.5, 9 out of 10. So it was like way more difficult. Managing deadlines, homework, assignments, midterms, keeping up with all the dates. It was just like something completely new for me, and probably something completely new for every student from Uzbekistan, because we don't have that type of organized structure in our high schools. So US colleges prepare students for that. Everything is organized, you manage your own schedule, you have to manage your own deadlines. But in our schools, I would say it's way less strict. And well, in my experience also, like, it was not as consistent. Like, one week you might get like a difficult assignment, and then the other week you might get no assignment. But at a US college, like every single week you have the same things to do, the same assignments, the same essays to submit, the same problem sets to finish, and they're all at the same deadline. So you have to maintain crazy consistency. Otherwise, if you just miss a few problem sets or a few deadlines, it's going to be extremely difficult to catch up for everything else. So you don't have any time to get sick or to break a bone and miss a few classes, or get in the hospital and miss a few classes. Because once you miss something, you're going to end up in an endless cycle of trying to catch up for other things by missing some other things. So it's going to get really difficult if you don't stay extremely consistent.
So, like, if you get sick or, like you said, get in the hospital, can you not just file what they call mitigating circumstances claim?
Yeah, you can. You definitely can. And they're not going to like do anything to your grade or lower it, or they're not going to be like, oh, you're sick, it means you're getting a 0 on the midterm. Nearly all professors allow you to like reschedule a midterm or like a final exam, or get an extension for a PSET if you're sick. But as I said, just the fact that you're rescheduling it to another time means it's going to overlap with something else.
Yeah.
And then you're getting an extension, which means your week 1 PSET is overlapping with a week 2 PSET. So it's just extremely difficult. So if you get sick, you pay the cost, you pay the price of having to catch up for everything and put in extra work.
Right. Wow. Sounds like it's no walk in the park being a Harvard student.
Yeah, I would say any US college is no walk in the park. Like, college is just way more different and difficult, as I said, than high school. Like, it's a completely another experience.
So, going back to your college application, a question I'm going to ask you probably sounds a bit absurd, but which one of the two things do you think students should worry more about relatively? Is it their academics or extracurriculars?
I think academics are just a bar that you need to pass. So if you want to be considered at all for a top 20 university, you must have the academics. That's just for being considered. And then to be competitive, you need to complement it with extracurriculars. So I would say both are equally important. One is needed to just be considered and to just pass the bar, and the other is needed to be competitive, a competitive applicant.
Right. And what do you think made you stand out? What's about your application you think made you stand out?
Well, first of all, I think my academic profile was pretty impressive for an applicant from Uzbekistan. So, like, as I said, every part of my academics was good enough. Like, I was happy with my GPA, my A levels, my SAT, IELTS. So everything was really good. My predicted scores, everything was like really, really good. And then I was in very good terms with all of my teachers. So after reading my admission file that I got at Harvard, I noticed that all of them, like all of the application readers that I had, admissions officers, put really high scores on my recommendation letters. And I think that made me stand out because I was in very good terms with like most of my teachers, and they all like provided really good letters of recommendation, I would say.
And how many of them did you get?
So I submitted an overall of 6 letters of recommendation to Harvard, which is a lot. So I had one from my counselor, and that year we had a counselor who I really, really liked. Like, we were in really nice terms with each other. He understood the students really well. So that was really nice. And so one was from my counselor, and then one was with my math teacher, and then one was from my math teacher, and then Uzbek language teacher. Yes, and then those were the mandatory ones. And then you can submit one more extra teacher recommendation letter. And I decided to submit one from Global Perspectives just because I was in really, really good terms with my teacher from Global Perspectives. I really liked the way she teaches, and we were really good friends. And so I asked her for a letter of recommendation, knowing that she would write something really nice about me. And then you can submit up to 2 extra letters of recommendation to Harvard. So one came from a professor who I worked with during my summer, and then another one came from another one came from my friend who studied his master's at Duke University and is now planning to do his PhD at Stanford University. He was like a friend and a mentor who used to teach me basics of Olympiad mathematics when I was just getting into math Olympiads in 8th grade. I had my little Olympiad era too in 8th and 9th grade. So I participated in a few math Olympiads, a few science Olympiads, and won a few medals, got some recognition, and that was a part of my application too. But after 9th grade, I knew that Olympiads aren't for me. I really didn't like the format of how they're done, and the format of I didn't like the idea of being very deep in one subject, and I much rather preferred focusing on my A-levels and having more broad knowledge in all of science, like math, physics, and chemistry. So I decided to focus more on that rather than on Olympiads. So I think rec letters played a good role. And then in my activity section, I couldn't care less about what sounded impressive and what didn't sound impressive. I just included everything I enjoyed doing. And some people who reviewed my application, they said that all of it seems very natural and not forced and not pretentious. So I just included everything I enjoyed doing. I had a YouTube channel where I used to teach A-level math and SAT math and SAT English. I included that. I included the fact that every summer I used to, when I was in Hiva, tour guide slightly in Ichankala, or I used to, I even wrote about some of the, you could say, things that I did in my village in Hiva when I used to visit every summer, helping out with the crops, with the animals and stuff like that. So I included animal husbandry and crop farming in my application even. And then just activities that I was just passionate about. I didn't have anything on a national or international level, but since applications are judged holistically and they know that I studied at a boarding school, so I didn't have the opportunity to scale my projects or clubs to a national or international level. I think they took that into account and didn't really care much about it.
So at what point did you start writing your college essays? Because that's the part that's still kind of mystery to me. Because I've heard students, there are different ways you can go about writing that essay.
Yeah.
Some people make it poetic. Some people write a sob story, right? Some people have their different people that go about it different ways.
Yeah.
So. How did you go about writing your essay, and at what point did you know it was time to start writing your essay?
So I knew it was time to start writing my essay when 11th grade started. So around October, I just sat down to try to write the first draft. Before that, during summer, I was doing just light brainstorming. And then October 2023, I sat down to write my first draft. And I just sat there for 2 hours just writing nonstop without editing, just to make sure I have something written down.
It's like, what is literally the first line you write in that essay? Do you want try to make like an epic entrance, epic intro?
I just included a basic hook. That's it.
Which was? If it's not a secret.
No, it's not a secret, but I'm just trying to remember it.
Okay.
I think it started about it was a scene where I was trying to connect the wires on a breadboard for like building a robot. So I was just describing that scene of like connecting one wire to the ground, one wire to this channel and stuff like that. So I just started with that part. So I sat down, I wrote my first draft, and then I stopped writing my essay. I focused on filling in my CSS profiles, activities section, and I didn't prepare for early decisions at all. Like, I didn't put in any effort, so I just applied randomly to Duke. And of course, I got rejected because I was like extremely unhappy about my personal statement, about the way I filled in my common application. But it is what it is. I didn't spend much time doing it. And then I was waiting until early decisions would come out, which was 15th of December, I think. I was waiting for the rejection to get motivation to work on regular decision applications. So I was not working on regular decisions until like 16th of December. 16th of December, after I finished my second term at school and it was time for winter break, I completely locked in for the regular decision applications because there was only 2 weeks left and I had to apply to at least like 6 or 7 colleges. And so I just quickly created a random college list out of colleges that provided financial aid and that sounded cool. And Harvard was not even on my initial college list because I thought that like, oh, nobody actually gets into Harvard. Like it's a myth. Like it's a lie that people get into Harvard. So I started working more seriously on my personal statement, putting in more work on my supplemental essays. It was still all very rushed and very rough, especially my essays, because I didn't put much effort into polishing them or having good presentation in them. What I cared about was just making sure my ideas and thoughts and what I'm trying to say through my essay is clear. I didn't really pay attention on the language and how nicely my sentences are structured because I didn't have the time to pay attention to all of that. So I just like wrote everything extremely straightforwardly. Like I didn't make it poetic, I didn't make it visual. It was just straightforward, just sentences. Because what I tried to accomplish through my essays is to just show to the readers what I meant through a straightforward way without beating around the bush with unnecessary visuals and details.
Right. Just no filters. It's
no filters at all.
Authentic you, the real you.
I tried to stay as authentic as possible throughout all of my application. Like mentioned random facts about myself, included a lot of jokes in my essays, humor. No matter how weird a sentence I wanted to include would sound, I still included it because I knew that's who I am, that's my internal personal voice, and that's what admissions officers want to see. And that, I think I accomplished what I tried to accomplish because when I read my admission file, the admissions officers noted that my application and my essays were very genuine, very sincere, honest. And when I had my interview before the decisions came out, when I had an interview with a previous Harvard student, I think they're called alumni interviewers. I read the comments that he left on my interview too, and he said that like I was very open and honest and very easy to talk to and maintain a conversation with. And one of the nicest things that my interviewer mentioned was that for someone planning to pursue engineering and STEM, like the way I communicate is really nice, and he thought that I would be a wonderful addition to the Harvard School of Engineering, because when he studied there back in the day, he noticed that a lot of the applied math and engineering majors had problems with communicating their ideas. So they didn't have the soft skills. He mentioned that that was an issue at the engineering school, and that admitting me would be a nice addition to the Harvard School of Engineering. And he also asked me a couple questions about why I'm choosing Harvard for engineering rather than MIT or Caltech. So I talked about the fact that I'm really not planning to be extremely deeply involved in engineering. I want to explore some other fields too. And Caltech and MIT, they just put too much emphasis on engineering and STEM, while at Harvard you can explore many different things while also being deeply involved in what you want to study.
Had you done your research about Harvard before you took that interview?
Yeah, I had done my research about Harvard. Like, it's extremely important to research Harvard or any school you're applying to before your interview, because interviewers also pay attention to the fact that you are curious about the school. So I prepared a couple questions about Harvard that I was really curious about, and I asked my interviewer about them. So I think my interview went really, really good, and probably was the deciding factor in my application. Because usually interviews are only like 30, 40 minutes, but mine stretched to like 80 minutes. So we had a lot of fun talking to each other, sharing personal things, stuff from our life. My interviewer gave me a lot of advice about Harvard, and I felt like it just went really, really well. I was really happy about how the interview went. And I think why I say it was a deciding factor is because my admission file said that I was a good applicant, but they need an interview to decide finally, finalize if I'm an admit or a reject. And the notes from my interviewer at the end said that I should be a definite admit. So I think my interview played a big, big role. So interviews are very crucial. Getting an interview from certain schools already means that you passed the initial screening, such as Harvard and Yale. I'm not sure about other ones, because others just provide the interviews based on availability. But Harvard and Yale are schools which provide interviews only to people who are already strong applicants and passed the initial screening, and require some final details before making the final decision. So I was already extremely happy about the fact that I received an interview, and then the interview itself went really well, so I was very happy about it.
Just listening to you talk makes me want to get into Harvard right now. If, realistically speaking, what are my odds of getting into Harvard right now? Bachelor's degree, not master's.
Bachelor's degree?
I want to do another bachelor's. Right. Or you think it's too bad of an idea to study alongside people way younger than me? Because I'm in my mid-20s right now.
Mid-20s. No, there's definitely people who are much older than you. Like, there are freshmen who are 30 years old, 40 years old. But I just don't think doing bachelor's twice is a good idea. Maybe applying to Harvard for a master's degree would be a much better idea.
Because it's been so long since I've been out of university, and I've lost touch with a lot of things I learned back then. So I feel like I need some brushing off. So I really want it to be solid.
Spending 4 more years to get another bachelor's degree is just not worth it, I think. It's better to spend 1 year to prepare and then apply for a master's degree at Harvard or any college you're interested in.
And unlike bachelor's degree, I'm probably not going to need SAT, right?
No, you have to take the GMAT.
GMAT.
Yeah.
GMAT, right.
Or the GRE.
Yeah.
GRE or GMAT.
Right. I'll put that on the list. I'll think about it.
I'm not really, I don't really know much about master's admissions.
Yeah, right. every time I have someone from the college admission community or college student, right, who goes abroad to study, I get pumped about going back to school, right?
Yeah, academia
So
is fun.
it
I like
is.
academia.
It is. It's a lot of fun. So, right. Just like you can have like a carefree life. All you think about is your studies. But once you're grown up, you can start thinking about other things like family,
Yeah.
you know, your business or your job and a bunch of different things. But like now you tell me there are a lot of guys who are in their 30s doing bachelor's degree at Harvard. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why not? Never say never, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's a nice mindset.
Yeah, right. So your interview, a quick question. Is your college application essay, the one that got you into Harvard, is it online available? Can someone go and review it?
No. Like most essays are not available online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you planning to just share your essay online for, or is that, because some people do that like the
Yeah,
few
some
years
people
after
do.
they
Some
get into
people do.
university?
No, I don't think I'm planning to share mine. I've just shared about like what it was about in general, but I don't think it really benefits people because everyone should figure out what they want to write themselves.
Actually might harm them more
Yes,
than
exactly.
benefit.
Because they're going to lose their personal voice or they're going to try to fit into the mold that I used, while everyone should do something different, something of their own when applying.
Right. So true. So true. Even if he puts his essay out there, guys, don't check it.
Yeah, don't check
review
it. Yeah.
Do it at your own risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So what is it? Can we talk more about like student life at Harvard, like the academics? So you did your first year foundation course, right? How many like modules? You guys call it modules or subjects?
We call them classes.
Classes. So how many classes did you guys take per semester, and how rigorous are they? You briefly talked about it, but now I really want
Yeah.
the bolts and nuts.
So first year, we don't really call it a foundation year, but it's just your first year. But you just don't declare a major. You're undeclared because you have to declare your major only in your second year. So you have the freedom to study whatever class you want. You don't have requirements. So every semester you need to take 16 credits, which are 4 classes. So everyone must take at least 4 classes every semester. Some people take 5, but 4 is like the standard. So I took 4 classes in my first semester, 4 classes in my second semester. In my first semester, I think I balanced my first semester pretty well. So I took a beginner writing class, and then I took a seminar, which is like something all freshmen are advised to take, which are just like small groups of people taking one seminar, so you can build more personal connections with the professor, form a more tight-knit community, and they're not as rigorous as like the regular classes. So as I said, a seminar, a beginner writing class, and then I took I think it's called Calc 3, so it's multivariable calculus. So you take Calc 1, Calc 2, and then Calc 3. I started with Calc 3, and I took Intro to Theoretical Physics in my first semester. So Calc 3, Intro to Theoretical Physics, Intro to Writing, and a seminar. I would say it was pretty okay. I think I managed it pretty well. It went well. My first semester, I was really happy with how I did in my classes. And then my second semester was definitely slightly overkill and slightly more, not slightly more difficult, much more difficult than my first semester. Because after I did well in my first semester, I got more confidence. And usually people who are doing STEM and engineering are advised to take 2 problem set classes which give problem sets as homework, and then 2 other classes. So my first semester, it was that. I had a problem set from multivariable calculus, a problem set from theoretical physics, and then essays from writing, and then like essays from my seminar. So it was pretty balanced. But in my second year, I took intermediate writing, which is like a must, like you must take it, intro to writing and then intermediate writing. And then after finishing, like, since now I did Calc 3, I was officially fully done with like calculus. And the next thing after calculus is linear algebra. So I did linear algebra with differential equations. And then I did electromagnetism and relativity. It's like, these are must-take classes. Like, these are just requirements that you need to take. They call it Physics 1 and Physics 2. Physics 1 is like mechanics, but I skipped Physics 1 because I was more or less confident in my skills in mechanics. So rather than doing a course in mechanics, I know that the college level mechanics is still different than the mechanics I was used to, but I knew that I could self-study it on my own during the summer. So instead of doing mechanics, I did Intro to Theoretical Physics, which is slightly harder, but more interesting. And then Physics 2, after you do mechanics, you do electromagnetism. So I did electromagnetism. That was probably my most difficult class, electromagnetism, because it was extremely difficult for me to, like, when you do mechanics, it's like belts, pulleys, systems. It's easy to imagine it, but when you're doing electromagnetism, it's like electrons, electric fields, magnetic fields, electrons moving at a certain speed, and you need to determine how the electric field and the magnetic field changes. And it's just extremely difficult to imagine all of that inside your brain, while imagining mechanics is easier. So electromagnetism was probably my most difficult class. And linear algebra was also difficult because it was a completely new branch of mathematics, because calculus, even though Calc 3 is like multivariable calculus, it's still just single variable calculus, but slightly more difficult, but still the same basic principles. But linear algebra is just like a completely new branch of mathematics. It's like a completely new, different way to think about math, new definitions, new operators. So there was a bunch of things to learn, and it's extremely technical. So learning all the definitions, the technicalities was difficult. And you get into like the world of like differential equations, which are extremely useful for all STEM majors and especially engineers. And they teach you how to use linear algebra to do those differential equations. And then what I liked is that what you learn at math, you can directly apply to physics too, because you use differential equations in electromagnetism too to solve certain systems. So it was all very fun, but at the same time extremely rigorous. And a lot of times, like, I was going into the classes being confident, knowing that I'm good at STEM. Like, high school STEM was like a breeze for me. I thought that it's not going to be that difficult too. But for like more than half of the academic year, I was just like sitting in lectures feeling extremely stupid because I could not understand what was going on. And only in like week 10 and week 11, I started understanding concepts from week 4 and week 5. So, thank you. It was a humbling experience, I would say. Extremely humbling, I would say. But I, like, even though it was extremely difficult, I tried my best not to give up, to stay persistent, to prove to myself that I can handle academics at college too. I can get perfect grades, not just at high school, but in college too. So I kept pushing myself, even if it meant like spending hours in the library, and having literally no time for doing clubs or like social activities. I was just purely focused on academics. I still had fun. I still went out with my friends, but most of my time was probably spent like preparing for exams and yeah, like lectures, exams, problem sets, keeping up with deadlines.
I really got a question about this writing class you took, because I'm a part-time English teacher, right? So I really wonder, what are the things you found out about writing at Harvard you did not know up until that point? Is there anything actually new?
Yeah, I think the writing classes were very useful for me because I didn't do any writing before college. Like, I was purely involved in STEM. So learning how to write proper essays and proper papers was something new for me. Like when you read a book and you write an essay from that book, like a comparative analysis or like a thesis work, when you write those kinds of things, um, what we learned was basically properly using evidence, analysis, connecting, like properly connecting evidence to analysis, like properly citing evidence that you use. So it's just like how to write papers overall. And that was extremely useful for me. And I feel like I got much better at being able to support my claims, support my arguments. Like we learned that like whenever it sounds cliche, but like whenever you argue for something, you must have enough evidence to support it in your essay, and then your evidence needs to be analyzed to make sure that your argument makes sense. And then all of that should be connected together really nicely with like really nice signposting and transitions. So just working on all of that with my professors in like one-on-one sessions with them, it was extremely useful for me.
Right, right, writing. I that's one of the things that comes up a lot in our writing classes, the importance of argumentation,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
knowing how to make an argument. And one of the things I try to get across in my class when I'm teaching a writing class is that a good argument is the one that can convince the reader,
Yeah, yeah.
right? That's my philosophy here. So
Yeah, even at my classes, like the first thing they always told us to remember is that you're not writing for yourself, you're writing for readers. So like maybe you are educated about the subject, but it doesn't mean that like you need to be able to explain it at a level that even someone who is completely new to the subject or has never read the book will be convinced in your argument. Even if you're someone who never read this book, you're convinced on my take about the book. So that's how strong your arguments and your analysis should be. Like everything must be supported
right.
in the essay.
And one of the other criteria we have for good writing is preempting readers' questions. So when
Yeah,
readers read your work, they naturally wonder things. And if those questions, if those sort of misunderstandings are explained later on in your work, that makes your argument convincing and strong.
Yeah.
But if those questions are left unanswered,
Yeah.
you lost your reader.
That's
They're not
why.
with you anymore.
That's why we must include a counter argument in any paper we're writing. It's like if we're arguing for a thesis, like a thesis work is like the most basic paper you'll write in college. You'll probably write like a bunch of them. So when you're writing a thesis, like you first start with a hook, and then you start with your thesis. Like your thesis is basically your claim, what you're going to be arguing for after reading a book or a paper. And then you have stakes, like why is this thesis important? Why is thinking about this even important? And then you basically have like many arguments why this thesis is true. So you go like introduction, hook, thesis, stakes, and then argument number 1, evidence, analysis, argument number 2, evidence, analysis, and then argument number 3, evidence, analysis, and then a counter argument, and then answering that counter argument, and then finishing with a conclusion. That's like the most basic structure you can use. You can also do like argument, evidence, analysis, counter argument, and then an answer to that counter argument, and then you can keep going like that. But like that's the most basic structure of a paper that anyone will write in college.
So when you write anything, like, are you guys allowed to use AI tools like ChatGPT to revise your work, your language, or some structural mistakes you make? Or do they expect it to be purely your work?
I think nobody even cares about it that much because ChatGPT is horrible at writing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really bad.
But there's a feature that makes your writing more human.
I don't think it really works that well.
What is some signs something is AI written?
I
AI
don't
produced.
know if there are signs because I haven't read many AI written essays, but I always prefer writing my essays on my own. ChatGPT is good for brainstorming, and all professors tell us that it's completely okay to use it for brainstorming, for ideas, or for research, if you're trying to find out more about a certain topic. But using it for writing is really bad, because if you want to make your grammar better, it means that you're just not a good writer. Your English level is not good enough to be in college if you're worrying about grammar, if you're worrying about like making easy grammar mistakes when you're writing a paper. But even if it's to that point, there's always like Grammarly, which doesn't use AI, and then you can just like check the most basic mistakes that you do.
But how about like if you want to boost your word precision, language precision? It's like you're not always confident about your word choice, but with ChatGPT, you can use more fitting expressions and phrases, right? How about that? And you also made the claim that ChatGPT writing is horrible. Like, based off of what are you making that assumption or claim?
Yeah, I tried to make ChatGPT write a few stuff to just see how good it is.
Okay.
Like when I was just exploring it. Because it's really good for STEM, because ChatGPT, what it does is just basically finds information that's already online and then like analyzes it and gives to you. But like with writing, an essay isn't going to be available online. It has to create its own essay, right? So I feel like it is good for word choice. You can be like, you can give them a rubric. You can give ChatGPT a rubric. What I used it for was checking my essay. So basically we had a rubric, and after I finished writing my own essay, I used to just paste it and be like, here's the rubric that we have. According to this rubric, what grade do you think I would get? And then it would give me the grade, and then I would ask for suggestions in every criteria. And then based on those suggestions, I used to just then go and rewrite my essay and just keep doing it until the feedback that's like ChatGPT gave me was good. So I think it's really good for revising your essay and improving it, but I wouldn't use it for writing ever. Like, I think it's really bad for writing itself.
If you were to review right now my college application, how could you tell it's not AI written?
I have no idea.
Yeah, right. I guess people really can't tell. You really can't tell.
I think admissions officers can tell. There are certain signs that an essay was written with ChatGPT. Like, they already have certain, if they already have certain suspicions, then they look for signs like using too many M dashes, for example. ChatGPT uses a lot of M dashes when you.
Oh yeah, that's
write
something I
essays.
noticed.
Yeah.
That's something I noticed.
Yeah, so a lot of M dashes. So if they already have a suspicion that your essay doesn't sound humane, and then they notice a lot of M dashes, they're going to be like, this was probably written by AI. And admissions officers really advise against using it, because what's important is what you're trying to convey through your essay, not what you're presenting. As long as you can convey your thoughts, it doesn't really matter if you picked the wrong word or made a few mistakes here and there. That's what I believe. Because I reread my essay and I noticed I had a bunch of mistakes because I was just writing it extremely fast, because the deadline was just really close. But I didn't really care much about it, because what I tried to show through my essay was evident.
Right. One of the ways I can tell a student's work is that I produced is that it's too good. Too good. Like when it's flawless, picture perfect, you know it's not their work, right? It's not. Yeah. There should be some inconsistencies in grammar or in word choice. But if it's perfectly crafted to like near expert level,
That's why I think
it's sus.
Yeah, that's why, since ChatGPT is good at recognizing patterns, it's an extremely good like reviewer. So back in the days where there was no ChatGPT 4, only GPT-3, I used to like send the official IELTS writing rubric to ChatGPT, like basically do like a little training on how to be a writing like checker. And then I used to like write my essay when I was preparing for IELTS writing and send it. And the results GPT gave me at that time were not very accurate, but they were somewhat accurate. Like, it could tell the difference between a bad essay and a good essay. And right now, I believe with the addition of GPT-5, it's an extremely useful tool that everyone preparing for like an IELTS, especially IELTS, like not personal statements. Because for IELTS, you have a set rubric on how you need to write your essay. But for personal statements, it can be anything. So if you're preparing for an essay which has like a specific rubric and a way to write it, which is available online, then just send the rubric to ChatGPT, tell it that it's now the examiner and has to check your essay as strictly as possible, and then send your essay, and then after it gives you the score and the breakdown, ask for suggestions on how to improve the essay, and just keep on working like that. That's how I would study for IELTS writing if I was taking my IELTS again.
But I think you can do the same thing with your college application, because if you think about it, the bigger picture, you are building a rubric.
Well, true.
By having a list of things you've accomplished, right? So this is who I am. These are the things I've done, and these are the things I'm good at, and these are the things I'm bad at. And additionally, the ChatGPT knows pretty much everything you've said to it.
Yeah.
So it's got some idea of who you are. So it can mix that with your rubric and actually produce better thing.
Well, I still believe that using ChatGPT for personal statement for anything but researching some ideas is a very bad idea, because it's just gonna kill the person's personal voice, which is, I believe, the most important part of the application. Just sounding like yourself, even if that doesn't sound perfect. It's just the most important thing is just sounding like yourself. So I still would really advise against using ChatGPT, because even if you're trying to build a rubric for yourself, it's never going to be like specific. Just because one person mentioned their achievement in the essay doesn't mean you'll have to also mention an achievement you had. Maybe the achievement that that person had was like very pivotal to their life and to their personal growth and journey. But to you, it might not be like that. To you, something else might be pivotal. To you, the fact that you were walking and you fell in a pit might be the most pivotal part of your life, and you might write about that.
Right.
So I think it's really different for everyone. And for grammar, I think Grammarly is the best. Don't use ChatGPT for grammar either, because I think even if you tell him to just tell it to just change the grammar, it's still gonna mess up some of the words too. So just use Grammarly for fixing the grammar.
Right. I mean, I'm totally with you on that, 100%. I'm playing the devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
people get the bigger picture, the nuance, a little bit of nuance, right? ChatGPT. Now, we talked quite a bit about your studies. Well, one quick question before we move on to the next chapter is, you talk about physics and calculus and all that, right? So you're studying to become a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Right. Why did you make that choice? Have you always had passion for building stuff?
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend and be like, since the age of 2, I knew I'd be an engineer. It was never like that. From a young age, I was just like pretty good at STEM and math. Like you don't have physics and chemistry in elementary school, but like from elementary school, I noticed that out of all the subjects at school, I enjoyed math the most, and I noticed that I was good at it. So I was just like, why not go in that path? So I was just always more involved in math, and like my parents also played like a big role in developing my like mathematical intuition, I would say. Like my mom played a big role of like teaching me 3rd, 4th grade math and like 1st grade, to just make sure that I have something to be passionate about, and so that there's like one thing that I am like good at, like slightly above average at least. And I think that's really important for everyone, to just develop the one thing you're good at. Like as everyone says, talent without work is like nothing. So I put in the work for like developing a mathematical intuition too, and I was just always very interested in math overall. So that's why I also tried getting into math Olympiads, but I really disliked the format of them, of how Olympiads are just administered in general. I didn't really like the idea of being too involved in just math in high school. I preferred being more social and doing more social stuff like Zakovat and student government, playing football outside, just making sure I also have a childhood even while being at a boarding school. But yeah, I was just always interested in STEM. And then in high school, I did physics and chemistry, and I was extremely interested in both of them. I really enjoyed doing both of them. So I knew that my path in college would be either pure math, applied math, physics, or engineering. I just knew that these are the STEM things in college. So but I was also like, well, out of all of these, probably what's going to bring the most money will be engineering. Because like I talked with my parents and like with my teachers, and I was really considering between, and I am still considering between pure math and engineering. So I'm still in between those two choices. I'm definitely more leaning towards engineering, but I'm still between pure math and engineering. But from what I've asked and from people, they said that like the career choices for pure math, well, you could work as a professor or you could work in like finance. There's like a big trend in finance and like quant finance and stuff like that. But I don't think working in an office at a white collar job is really how I envision my future. And I would much rather do something with my hands in industry and have actual like tangible impact, I could say. So I chose the engineering path, and I'm still exploring it. I just had my first engineering experience while doing my engineering class in my second semester. So as I said, intermediate writing, linear algebra, electromagnetism, and then I had intro to computer-aided design. So basically it's a class where they teach the most basic principles of mechanical engineering, which is hella boring from how it sounds. It's like they basically teach you about screws, bolts, nails, about gears, about belts, about how they move, about what the difference between gears with 64 teeth and 32 teeth are, and what does all of that mean? How does energy transmission between the gears work? And how do systems work? Like, for example, when you see a bulldozer or like a crane, how does the arm work? Like, how does all of that even function? Basically, taking everything we learned in physics in high school and putting it into the real world. That was the theoretical aspect of my engineering class. That aspect was fun. The aspect of like, there used to be questions like, oh, you're designing a robot and it has to go uphill on a 30-degree incline. And it must be able to carry a 30-gram hockey puck on its robotic arm, which is like 10 centimeters long. Will the robot be able to climb the 30-degree incline? And you need to consider things like torque, center of mass, and like just put together everything you've learned in theoretical physics into real-world problems. That aspect I enjoyed, but like the aspect of learning about different screws, different gears, it didn't sound extremely fun to me, but I still had to learn all of it because it's the class. And then at the end, while we're learning the theoretical aspect, we also had a lab simultaneously, where throughout the whole semester we were building a robot. So we learn how to use the machinery like saws, drills, arbor presses, automatic milling machines. Like they're basically like machines where they carve out a certain pattern that you create on like a piece of metal or like a piece of silicon, for example. You just put the block in the CNC milling machine and it just mills out the pattern that you draw in like a computer. How to use 3D printers and all of that. So they teach during the lab and how to use laser cutters and all that different stuff. And then they tell you to build a robot. So building the robot involves designing the robot, making physics calculations for the robot, and then preparing the parts, such as like cutting long pieces of metal, making sure all the cuts are perfectly dimensioned, because like everything needs to come together perfectly. Even if like a certain part is like a millimeter off the measurements, it might shift the center of gravity, or the parts will not fit together. So like when you have a system where basically a lot of things interact with each other, such as you have a piece of metal, like an L-shaped piece of metal with holes where you insert a shaft, which is connected to a motor, for example. And the motor is, and then the shaft is connected to a gear. And then the L-shaped metal just holds everything in place. So it's like a mini system of many things together, right? And for all of them to be perfectly connected to each other, all of them have to be toleranced really nice. So the degree of error you can have is extremely small. Like everything needs to be extremely precise when you're designing everything. So it teaches precision. It teaches basically the principle of measure twice, cut once, but measure 10 times and then cut once. Because we made a lot of mistakes. Like we had acrylic boards, which we need to use as the base of our robot. And we were given 4 boards, and like we had to laser cut a base plate for a robot like 6 different times, because every single time their measurements were off. And the sad thing was that their measurements were off by like a couple millimeters. But even those couple millimeters just prevent the robot from assembling together and working perfectly. So the main stage is first designing the robot. And my main role in the team was doing the designing part. So what you do is basically you have an engineering software where you have to assemble the whole robot first in the software. And what's good about it is because it will actually mimic the physics of how the robot will work in real life. So if you assemble it correctly with all the correct dimensions inside the software, and if, let's say, it moves up and down, if the arm goes up and down, if the belt and pulley system works perfectly in the software, it means it will work in real life too. So that was my part. The things we already had pre-made were only the screws, and yeah, that's it, like the screws and the pulleys and the gears. Everything else we had to make on our own. Like the motors were pre-made, of course, like nobody expects you to create your own motor in the software. But everything else, like the base plate, the arm, the mechanism of the arm. So like you need to create your own mechanism for how the arm of the robot will work. And like you need to get creative with it. So the mechanisms, everything else, you need to design everything by yourself. So I was involved in that part of like thinking of a mechanism for the arm. And then I had a friend who was involved with the physics. So how much should the base plate weigh? How much should the arm weigh? Where exactly should the arm be placed? Like how many centimeters off the edge of the base plate should it be placed, so that when you go uphill on the 30-degree incline or like the 15-degree incline, the robot doesn't topple backwards, so it goes perfectly upwards. So we were working on the physics of it, and then on the software part of it. And overall, it took like 2 months, I think, to design the whole robot and make sure the physics work perfectly fine. And while designing it, we had people working on like the assembly part of it too. And I was also working on the assembly part, like making sure we assemble all the gearboxes, which will actually rotate the wheels of the robot and then rotate the arm of the robot. And then there was a lot of manual labor, like cutting up shafts, cutting up pieces of metal as like supports for the gearboxes. So everything was man-made. Like nothing was like taught to us on how to make the robot. All we had was like examples from previous students, and that's it. And then apart from that, we just had pieces of metal and equipment. So we had to come in and like saw everything, drill everything ourselves. And I think it really teaches like tactile skills, like with your hands, how to work properly with your hands.
And you guys were doing all this in a workshop, right?
Yeah. So like we have like a workshop room, like a lab for our class.
Right. And under adult supervision.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have someone
so not
watching
adult
over
supervision, but Well, yeah, adult supervision. Each lab has like a supervisor, the person who supervises the lab. But also we have course assistants. Course assistants are students who previously took the class. So they're there to teach us how certain machines work, like the safety precautions for a machine. For example, there are many different types of saws. There's a vertical saw, a horizontal saw. Like there's a vertical saw which you need to like lift up, and then you let it go, and then it slowly goes down and then cuts through the piece of metal that you need. Or there's a drill, like a drill bit, like you put the drill into the machine, and then you need to like manually push it down and up, down and up, so that's how you create holes for bolts, for like screws. So if you see something if you see something where you can insert a screw, it was probably created that way. So basically they first choose the correct size of the screw. So every screw has its own size. They teach us how to read those sizes. So like the sizes are mentioned in terms of diameters. And since I study in the US, I'm more now used to the inch system rather than the like metric units. So like you realize like what type of screw you need to use, and then you go and you pick the right drill size, and then you insert it into the machine, and then you make like a mark on the piece of metal where you need to make sure that the drill like drills through the metal, and then you place it, and as you're drilling it, you like constantly pour like oil so that there's like lubricant, and then you drill through all of it, and you have to make sure that it's perfectly dimensioned from every single edge. And then when you drill, it's just like a cylinder, right? You cannot just screw in a screw there because it doesn't have those patterns, the helical shape. And then to create the helical shape, you use a tool called the tap. So then you tap the hole. So basically it's something that mimics a screw. So you like twist the tap inside the hole so that it creates those helical patterns. And then after you tap the hole, you can screw in the screw. So that's how all of it works. And just understanding all of it is really fascinating, and it makes you realize how far like the mechanical and industrial revolution has come along, given that even making a simple robot was extremely difficult, but they create like rockets, huge ships, cars, which are perfectly detailed. Because if a single misplaced screw can break a robot and cost you the competition, a misplaced screw within an airplane or within a car might cost someone's life. So just understanding how much precision and effort goes into all of that is like extremely fascinating to me. And the way they did it before all these like super precise robots and computers and machines were introduced, like back in the days when they used to do it like 100 years ago, when they used to like produce cars. It just like fascinates me of how they were able to get it so precise to make sure that everything works.
Yeah, that now makes perfect sense why you chose mechanical engineering, not theoretical physics or math, where all you do is just solve problems and equations. You're actually getting your hands dirty.
Yeah, I definitely still enjoy solving problems and like sitting there staring at my iPad, thinking of a solution and writing it down. I still definitely enjoy it more right now, but I feel like as I progress, as the theoretical aspect will keep getting harder and harder, I feel like I'll start enjoying the hands-on part much more. But I enjoy both of them, so I don't really feel bad about choosing engineering over pure math, because I'm still getting to do a lot of theoretical stuff too. Like even if I do engineering, it doesn't mean that the theoretical part has ended. There's still just as much theoretical part as I would do if I was like a pure physicist or a pure mathematician. But it's just different. Rather than, like, if I were a pure math major, my subjects would involve things that aren't very applicable to everyday life, because mathematics has developed to that point already where the things you would need for current everyday life to build a car, for example, were already invented hundreds of years ago. Like every mechanics principle needed to build a car was already invented by Newton hundreds of years ago. So since everything that we need for current day-to-day life, for current industry is invented, what physicists and mathematicians now do is just explore things way beyond that. So like mathematics and physics, they do things in like the 11th dimension already. They work with like objects in higher dimensions, in dimensions higher than the 4th, 5th, 6th dimension. Why I mentioned the 11th one is because right now like the most popular thing that physicists are trying to work on is like string theory. It's like basically a theory which would be like the unified theory of the universe, of how the universe works. Basically, it's the theory that universe is made up of strings, and different vibrations of the string, different frequencies, are different atoms, different molecules. So that's basically string theory.
So it's a theory that you're made of strings. I'm made of strings.
Yeah, it's a theory that everything is made out of strings.
Wow.
Like, it's basically like a theory that...
Yeah, it's like your hair strings.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the way they explain it is that life is basically our universe is basically the music that comes out of a violin when you play it. So just like different things are different frequencies of strings. That's a theory that scientists have been working on for like around 100 years. But there's literally barely any progress being made. But they have nothing else to work on. So they keep on working on all of that. And then they work on like topology, which is also like about objects in higher dimensions. Like mathematicians work on that. How different shapes transform into other shapes, like how you can transform a cup into a donut, for example. So like they work with that type of stuff. It's still extremely useful, the breakthroughs that they make. Like they work on, like, for example, prime numbers, which are numbers which are only divisible by 1 and themselves, like 3, 7, 11, for example. Works on prime numbers are still ongoing. There's still like a bunch of conjectures that haven't been proved yet. And these are extremely useful because like prime numbers are like the ground of cybersecurity and codes for everything. When they have like complicated codes for things, they involve prime numbers mostly. So breakthroughs in physics and math are still being used to this day. But they're also working on other stuff in like much higher dimensions, which are non-applicable to the life that we have right now. So our industry is not on the level of our theory yet. Our theories just keeps on advancing. And I don't think I'm really like interested in working in solving rings in the 7th dimension. So I would rather work on something that's here right now. Even though that is still extremely interesting for me. But what I want to do is just do both. So I want to do mechanical engineering and then maybe get a master's degree in pure math and then a PhD in mechanical engineering again, or some other type of engineering.
Right. It's probably a little premature to ask you that question, but do you have any dream company you'd like to work for, or do you want to have your own startup?
I think first I want to work in industry at a company to just gain more skills and just work there up until I've plateaued at the career ladder. So like most companies, growth is like, it happens pretty fast, like office jobs or like industries. So after I plateau somewhere, I plan to start my own company, I would say, in engineering. But before that, I want to work in industry.
And what would that company be? Do you have any list of companies?
Definitely don't have something planned, but I would really love to work at like fresh new startups that work on like biomechanics and bioengineering. Basically, I'm more interested in like, well, I'm interested in all types of mechanical engineering because mechanical engineering is very broad and applicable to any field of engineering. But I would enjoy working on like things for like assistive engineering, like building exoskeletons to make the lives of people with disabilities easier and stuff like that. So like building robots or building exoskeletons, I would love to try that out. I just want to try everything until I find something I want to settle on and pursue my career in. I want to try working in the car industry, like I don't know, maybe for Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen Group, just be on their like mechanical engineering teams. I want to try working for Tesla, maybe. But these are just like all like plans and ambitions for the future. But that's probably the distant future because I'm pretty sure for at least like 7 or 8 more years I will be in academia because I want to do a PhD because that allows career growth to happen much faster. If you go into industry while already being like a PhD in engineering, then you'll get a better starting job, your starting salary will be better, and then your career growth prospects will be higher. So it just gives more advantage. So straight after bachelor's, I want to try doing a PhD in engineering.
Right. So you don't want to get a job straight out of university
No,
and
no,
like
yeah.
be stuck with it and not be able to further your education.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do a PhD.
That's
Yeah.
a smart strategy. That's a smart
And
strategy.
then as soon as that PhD is over, I'm probably gonna work in industry.
Right. We talked quite a lot about your academic studies. Now, would you like to let us in on your social life at Harvard? What is it like studying at Harvard, outside your studies at Harvard? What do you guys do in your
Yeah.
spare time?
So I used to run a channel where I used to post like some of my social life parts at Harvard, where I used to like share how I watched movies with my friends, or cooked with my friends, or went out with my friends. And right now I don't run a Telegram channel anymore because I feel like after 1 year of running, I just became way too exhausted. So I just deleted it.
So, if people were to follow you on social media, they would find you on YouTube,
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. On YouTube, I tell myself I'm going to continue posting on YouTube every single day because I have 10,000 followers right now, and the followers and the views just keep coming, even though last video I posted was more than a year ago. But right now I'm not really planning to do it. But I think that could be a nice source of passive income after I graduate. But for now, I'm probably not going to continue it. Or I'll just like make some light content once a month.
So, you said you enjoy hanging out with your friends and cooking, right?
Yeah.
Can you cook?
Yeah, I can cook.
Okay. What can you cook? What do you cook?
So I cook like the most basic stuff. Something I need for myself, like to hit protein goals, like steak or chicken breasts, or like pasta with chicken or salmon, or just like bowls of like rice, some salad, and some salmon or some chicken. So like the most basic essential stuff like a college student would need. So if I have the ingredients, I know I'm not going to be hungry, but it's like I don't have enough time to go out there and shop for groceries, come back and cook. So most of the times, even though I don't like it, I resort to just ordering or just eating instant ramen, for example. But if I have the motivation and the time, if my weekend is free and I'm sure it's free, I like to just go out and shop for groceries and then like cook for myself and for my friends. Sometimes, like it happened twice or 3 times the whole past year, so it's not frequent, but it's still something I enjoy and it's very fun. And other than that, we just most of the year, all of us are extremely busy. But when that one time per semester comes out, when all of us are free, we go out to Boston. So Harvard is located in Cambridge. Cambridge is a city in Massachusetts, and Boston is a city in Massachusetts. Boston is like bigger. Cambridge is like smaller and quieter. So we use the subway to go to Boston, and then we just walk around there, eat something. There's an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet place where you just like, it's you pay $40 for it, which is quite expensive. But if you're someone who can eat a lot, you can definitely get your money's worth out of it. Like, I'm pretty sure I got my money's double worth out of it. I probably like ate $80 worth of sushi when I went there. So it's really nice.
Is sushi safe to eat? I used to try sushi, but like after I saw some videos of people complaining about raw meat and how it has worms, is that safe thing to eat?
I think it's definitely safe. Like, sushi is one of the foods I really love eating a lot. But it's like, it's expensive, so I can't eat it very often. But I haven't had any issues. Like, even in Uzbekistan, like, I'm pretty sure the standards in the US are much higher. But even in Uzbekistan, where I order like Yapona Mama like once every 2 or 3 months, or go out with my friends, I've never had any issues with it. So I think raw fish isn't an issue. Raw meat is an issue, but raw fish isn't an issue. So yeah, I think it's fine. And if you cook for yourself, if you're a college student, and you should definitely like cook rather than order, because ordering is extremely expensive. But if you do smart grocery shopping and save your ingredients and like get for free whatever you can get for free from the dining halls, like what we used to do is we used to bring in cups, and like just in the dining hall we used to just put salt in one cup, pepper in the other cup, even olive oil in the other cup, some salad dressings, and like whatever ingredients we could get from the dining hall, we used to get it from the dining hall, and then anything that's left, we used to buy it whenever we cooked with our friends. So I think it's manageable on a budget to cook nice and eat healthy too.
Right.
But I did not do that in my freshman year.
So, how much do your expenses add up to monthly as a student living abroad?
It's always different, but I feel like it's gonna be at least $300, $400 a month.
A month, which is not bad.
Which is, well, considering the fact that I'm on full scholarship, where everything is paid for.
Full or full ride?
Full ride.
Full
Yeah.
ride,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. That's not considering the beginner expenses. Like, when you go to college, you have starting expenses, which definitely will add up to a lot of money, like buying a laptop, buying an iPad. Especially if you're a STEM major, everyone goes there, and the first thing they do is they buy a MacBook and buy an iPad with an Apple Pencil. That's like the given that everyone must do in their like first week. And then they buy a SIM card plan. I have the cheapest available unlimited plan. So like it was very important for me to have an unlimited plan because I mostly use my own internet rather than connecting to the Wi-Fi when I'm on my phone. So the cheapest available unlimited plan for me was $400 per year. And since it's the yearly plan, it's cheaper. Otherwise, it would cost me $60 a month. But right now, it's like around $35 a month, which is like the cheapest you can get for an unlimited plan. Because it's a provider called Mint, which is like known as the cheap provider for students.
Yeah.
Because the popular ones, which you might have heard of, are like AT&T, T-Mobile, the ones that they use in America. But most students use Mint.
Yeah. Well, now that Ryan Reynolds is their public face, public image.
Exactly. Ryan Reynolds boosted the like popularity of Mint by a lot, but also Mint has this aspect of like working really well in some states and not working good in other states. In Cambridge, it works perfect. It works even better than like AT&T and T-Mobile. So I'm really happy with it. But in some parts, you might have to go with like T-Mobile and AT&T and the other providers.
Right. So on average, you should expect to spend about $300 to $400 a month.
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe so.
get by as a student.
Because if you are living in a state without a subway or without developed public transportation, so I'm very lucky that Boston is one of the few states, Massachusetts, or like Boston is one of the few cities with a subway system. The only others I know are New York, Philadelphia. That's it. I don't know any other place with the subway system. So when they're traveling around to places which are further away, they resort to Ubers, and Ubers are extremely expensive. Like, once I was very late to my flight, so I had to come back to Uzbekistan. And I didn't plan ahead, and I was very late to my flight. I could have traveled from my campus to the airport for a mere $5 maximum if I first used the subway and then used a bus called the Silver Line, which takes you from the subway station to the airport. But since I was extremely late, I didn't have the time to use the subway and then the Silver Line, so I had to resort to ordering an Uber, which is something you never need to do, because it ended up costing $65 to get from campus to the airport. And $65 is crazy when you think about the fact that it's 1 million sums. Like, right now exactly, before I used to be like, oh, it's just like 600,000, 700,000 sums. But if you actually calculate based on the exchange rate, it's 1 million sums. And wasting 1 million sums on a taxi
single ride,
on a single ride is crazy.
it is.
But because of that situation, I had to resort to it. And that's what most people resort to in places without a subway. So, so these are some mistakes I did in my freshman year, which I always share with everyone, with incoming freshmen, to make sure that I never do them again in my sophomore year and further years. So never get Ubers. Public transportation is amazing, like amazing. If your city has public transportation, use public transportation. Just go to Google Maps, put in your destination, and Google Maps will give you a whole itinerary of how you should move, like which bus you should go to, how long you should ride, which stop you need to leave at. So it's really developed there. And then don't order food, like DoorDash, Uber Eats. In Uzbekistan, like Yandex Eats and Uzum, Tezkar, they're like pretty cheap, but there it's just like crazy expensive, especially given the fact that Cambridge is one of the most expensive cities in the whole world. Like, if you want to get a meal for yourself, and a meal that would make you okay-ish, not full, but you're not hungry anymore, it would cost at least like $20, which is crazy to think about. Like, for one meal for a person, $20, $25. If you're smart about it, you can find places with student deals. So, like, there's a place called Boston Burger Company right next to our campus, and they close at midnight, but from 11 p.m. till midnight, they sell $1 burgers. Like, a burger for $1 is crazy. You can't even find that in Uzbekistan. So if you just go there from 11 p.m. to midnight, it's usually always packed, but if you can find like a time slot where it's not packed, you can enjoy like 3 or 4 burgers if you're really, really hungry. But try not to resort to that. Dining hall food is good. It's just the problem that many people stay up very late, and the dining hall closes at like 7, 8 p.m. at Harvard. At other colleges, it's not like that. It's different.
Do you get free food at dining hall?
Yeah. I get 3 meals a day.
All day round?
Yeah.
Right.
3 meals a day, but it's extremely difficult to wake up for breakfast. So most meals I have are lunch and dinner. But another mistake I made is that 3 days a week, my classes, like during lunch period, were in the engineering building, and that's why, because my class was during the lunch period, I didn't have time to eat lunch. So 3 days a week, I would just eat dinner, and that was just like crazy. So you need to make sure to balance everything out, to make sure you have time for food, for sleep, nutrition, health, and academics. Like, balancing it all is extremely crazy. That's why I treat freshman year as the year where you can do mistakes and then learn off of them, and then make sure your other 3 years of college are good.
Right. Now that you're sharing all this on this podcast, and students are going to be watching it and who might one day end up at Harvard aren't going to make these mistakes.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right.
It's going to be really nice if you make all these mistakes in freshman year so that you don't repeat them in the next years.
So there you go, guys. For future Harvard students, some life hacks.
Yeah, as I said, first thing you do, you buy a MacBook, you buy an iPad with an Apple Pencil. That's already like an expense of around-ish, like $1,700. So my advice is, like, go with like the most basic base model of the MacBook, like a MacBook Air. If you're doing engineering, just make sure it has a lot of RAM. It doesn't matter if you're getting a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air, just get an Air with like 32 gigabytes of RAM. And then get like the most basic iPad Air and an Apple Pencil. Just try to like lower the cost of that as much as possible. Use student deals.
Right. Why do you need so much RAM space?
When you're doing engineering, you use software which require a lot of RAM. So I think like my current MacBook is 16 gigabytes of RAM. And sometimes when I'm working, like when I was working on the robot software, at some point where it was already coming together and being larger and larger, I had to collect all the files to a flash drive and move on to a university computer because my laptop was like the RAM was full. Well, it's also considering the fact that I was running it through a virtual machine on my MacBook because the software only runs on Windows machines. But still, nonetheless, even if you're doing engineering, still get a MacBook because Windows laptops, they just don't run, they don't have enough battery. And in college, the most important thing is having enough battery life because you're not going to have time to always charge your laptop. So whatever major you do, buy a MacBook, give into consumerism for a year, and then just stick with it.
What are some of the Harvard things you noticed at campus? Like things you would only see at Harvard?
I'm not sure if it's something you only see at Harvard, but definitely at like most of these elite colleges is, first of all, the academics are very cutthroat, but you expect it to be cutthroat. But at the same time, the people aren't like big nerds. Everyone knows how to have fun, how to like, how can I say, be a person too, not just a robot. But at the same time, you notice that everyone is extremely focused throughout the weekdays. They're just 24/7 in the library. And then during the weekends, they have fun, they go out with their friends. So that ability to balance things perfectly, like when you have to lock in, you lock in. And then when you need to have fun, you have fun. I think students at Harvard do it really, really well. The work-life balance, what was I gonna say? Work hard, play hard. Yeah, the vibe of work hard, play hard is really developed there, I would say.
Right. The thing I actually kind of meant to ask was, back in university, we used to have what's called guest lectures, where we would have celebrity entrepreneurs, scientists come in and give lectures.
Yeah.
Have you had those? Have you had a celebrity A-list scientist or a celebrity come and give you a lecture or talk about their success journey?
Just in the time that I was at Harvard, we had Joe Biden visit our our graduate school of politics, I think. And then we had Bill Gates visit because it's his university, like he used to go here. The funny thing is, like, after freshman year, as soon as you finish freshman year, you're sorted into one of 12 upperclassmen houses, and then for your next 3 years, you live in that upperclassman house. And I was sorted into a house called Courier, where Bill Gates used to live. And it's a really nice house, and it has a lot of nice amenities because Bill Gates, after like graduating, he donated a lot of money to it because it's the house where he lived in. So it has like it's one of the only houses which has its own gym. It has like arcade machines, VR headsets, an Xbox, a Nintendo Switch. So it's a really nice place.
Cool. Did you ever get the chance to talk to these people?
So most of these guest lectures, they would always happen at the time of my classes. So I was not very able to attend them. I didn't attend any of the guest lectures, even though I really wanted. I was not even like really interested in the Bill Gates and Joe Biden one, but I was really interested in attending a talk by Veritasium.
Who's that?
Veritasium is a YouTube channel which...
Oh, I've seen him. I've seen it.
Probably anyone interested in STEM knows Veritasium. They make like the channel makes the most interesting STEM videos on YouTube, explaining STEM concepts. And Veritasium was at Harvard for a talk once, and I even put it in my calendar, and I was planning to skip a lecture to go to that talk, but I ended up oversleeping because I had to work a lot during the previous day. So I was really salty about having to miss it. But things like that happen very often. So you just need to be signed up for the mailing lists. You need to pay attention to the posters because they always update the posters outside as you're walking, like the boards where they put posters with pins, the traditional way. They update them daily. So pay attention to them, to who's coming to give a talk at the university. A bunch of very famous people visit, and I probably don't know even 2% of people who visited the year I was there, but like a bunch of famous people visit.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. Are you okay with the room temperature? Because I see you shivering. And
Oh no, I'm not shivering. It's just
Yes,
like me sitting normally.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright, sure. Or is it just is it the coffee?
No,
The
no, no.
caffeine started
That's just like
kicking?
my natural way of sitting. Like my
Yeah.
leg always just twitches and stuff
Yeah.
like I can't sit on one place. I just always move around.
I actually get kind of twitchy when I have coffee, and that's exactly why I haven't had coffee for over a year. Yeah, no caffeine. I can't have caffeinated drinks. No coffee, no energy drinks. I can't put that in my body.
At college, I also hate caffeinated drinks. I was never a fan of coffee and like energy drinks, but I realized that they do actually help when you're preparing and pulling all-nighters for exams. I used to drink very large amounts of caffeine like the night before my final exams, midterms, because I have a bad habit of like putting everything off until the last day. So I used to give myself just one day to learn the whole syllabus and prepare for my midterm. So how that would look like is that I would go and buy like two like glass jars of coffee and then like a large Red Bull, and I used to just drink them throughout the day. It helps you stay energized, and given the fact that I was always planning to sleep very little before my exam just so I can study as much as I can, because I put everything off to the last day. Energy drinks really help you stay focused when you just get 1 or 2 hours of sleep. And then as soon you just need to push through until you're done with that exam, and then you can go sleep. What a lot of people I found doing is that just because of how cutthroat the environment and the academics are, a lot of people just go to another extreme of like, they don't even drink coffee and Red Bull anymore. They just take caffeine pills. So like there's pills of like pure caffeine, and they just take them just to stay energized and woken up during exams to be able to prepare.
Right. That's insane.
Yeah, that's actually insane. The vending machines are always empty, like always empty. There's no energy drinks left during the exam periods. Like it's extremely difficult to find them.
So it's kind of a dog world, right?
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But when you're in a small town like Bukhara, a small city like Bukhara, or any one of the cities in Uzbekistan, except for Tashkent, because Tashkent is really catching on.
Yeah. Tashkent is catching on, yeah.
Yeah. Things are laid back. People are chill. You see, you don't see much action going on there, right? But like when you tell me all about your university experience, I kind of miss my early 20s when I used to have that spirit. I mean, I still kind of do, but like you get old.
That's why I believe going to masters is a good idea, because even while you study at masters, you get to experience the college vibe too. Like you study a lot, but you also make a bunch of new friends, and it's a really nice vibe still. Even if you're doing a PhD, I feel like the college vibe is still there.
Right. Sure. I'll think about it. Totally think about it. Because like I've been in this job and this thing, teaching and running this school and then now podcasting for quite a while now. I'm kind of starting to feel like I'm kind of growing out of it. Yeah, and unless I like move on to something bigger and different, I just feel miserable about leaving so much on the table.
Yeah.
And that's one of the scariest thoughts you can possibly imagine, is just turning 60 and looking back and realizing you haven't really accomplished much. So,
Yeah, that's why I think masters is a really nice change of environment.
right. So if I ever reach out to you, asking for help with my application, I hope you'll return my messages.
Yeah, I will, but I have no idea how to do master's applications.
But I bet you know people who are doing
Yeah,
that.
I
So,
definitely know
so
people.
that's how networking works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right, right. So, one of the other things I noticed on the list of things you have accomplished is that you have learned a bunch of coding languages. You mentioned C++.
They are on the resume. Like you put on your resume once you're familiar with them. So during my high school years, I like whenever I was like, it happened mostly during COVID and then past that too. When I was bored, I just learned those programming languages up to an intermediate level and then just dropped them, just so that I have some basic knowledge.
Do you actually use them at university now, or you don't?
I do. I use Python in labs because you need to use the like stuff like NumPy or like basically you use Python when you're doing lab work and when you need to plot your graphs or analyze the findings of your experiment. You use Python basically, models at Python. But I don't use yet C++, because most of the robot I built up to now, it was just like controlled through a radio controller. So I didn't really need to program the robot, but in next few years, I'll have to use them again.
What programming language do you think has the highest ROI, like return on investment? So, if I were to study mechanical engineering or go into computer science, so where should I start off?
I think currently the highest ROI in anything CS related is prompt engineering, learning how to use AI properly. I think it's, well, I'm not a CS guy, like not a CS guy at all. If you told me to like program something on Python right now, I probably wouldn't be able to. But I feel like if I were to get into CS, I would just put a bunch of effort into prompt engineering because then with AI you can do anything.
Yeah, that's one of the wild things about AI is that you can actually become a software engineer without learning a programming language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of like the people who are in this CS and tech world are telling like kids and like people in their early 20s to learn math and physics instead of pursuing CS or stuff like that, or learning AI, for example, because the skills you get while doing math and physics, like critical thinking abilities, problem solving abilities, will never get old. While if you do CS, it might get replaced by AI. But I'm not someone to know for sure if it's going to get replaced or not. As I said, know barely anything about CS.
But I remember watching once this guy who's the CEO of NVIDIA. I don't know
Jensen.
if you... Yeah, that guy. So in one of his demos, he said something that really had me thinking. He said the new programming language, the programming language of the future is going to be English. Like if you just know English, you're a programmer. You know how to program, right? So that tells a lot about what the future of programming is going to be like. You're not going to have front-end developers, probably no back-end developers. Everything is going to be done by computers and AI. And actually, the other day I was watching a video where a guy tests ChatGPT 5, and it told it to build a simple game of Tetris.
Yeah.
And it literally did that with 200 lines of code in under 30 seconds.
That's crazy. Yeah.
In under 30 seconds, with about 200 lines of code.
That's actually insane.
Yeah.
That's why I believe, like, I stick towards physics, math, and engineering rather than CS, because the skills you get while doing them will always be applicable, in my opinion. While if you learn a coding language, it's probably going to get replaced by AI. Like whatever we learned how to code on Python, for example, can be done by AI, I think. I'm not sure, as I said. These are just my subjective opinions. That's why I'm always against doing CS in college.
Right, right. Yeah, it's some food for thought. There are a few other things I want to really ask you about your personal interests. You are into stand-up comedy, right? Have you done stand-up comedy, or do you just like watching stand-up comedy?
So I like watching it, and I like submitted like applications to audition at stand-up comedy troops at Harvard. But the auditions, they're going to be next semester. So that's something I think that would be really nice and unexpected on my resume too, and something I would definitely enjoy doing. But there's like a bunch of things I want to try out because the opportunities at Harvard are amazing. And then after like trying out everything, I want to settle on one hobby that I will pursue for the next 3 years at college and try to get above average at. Like those include like either stand-up comedy or like ice skating or running, anything from that list.
So what makes you think you would make a good stand-up comedian?
Well, I don't think anything would make me a good stand-up comedian. I just think the fact that I enjoy doing it and I enjoy talking to a crowd and making people laugh and
Can you give us a little taste right now? Do you
I
have
don't
any?
think I would be able to do it right now because most of my jokes come in when I'm in a company of friends and we're just like having a conversation about some topic and I just like make a joke about that topic. So that's how most of my jokes come out. So that's something I want to just try, like building a stage presence, stage confidence, and better oratory skills.
Do you have any stand-up comedian you follow online? Like you look up to?
I don't have anyone specific, I would say, but I watch a bunch of stand-up comedy videos on YouTube. That's just something really nice for me because, first of all, it's funny. You get to laugh, and second of all, you get to see the many ways people approach jokes. Because you can approach a joke as in you can make jokes that are so unfunny and stupid that they're funny, or you can make jokes which are straight up straight up disrespectful to the point that they're funny. Like you're not going to offend anyone, but they're still like you're trying to roast someone. Or you can make jokes about your personal experiences. You can make jokes about your audience. So there's just like many ways to go about it. So seeing the different ways different people approach stand-up comedy is extremely like interesting to me. Like how people can make jokes out of like day-to-day experiences which you wouldn't expect you wouldn't expect for them to be funny, for example. So I think that's a really cool art. And first of all, being a good stand-up comedian also makes you have a good sense of humor, or you need to have a good sense of humor to be a good stand-up comedian, but you also like develop the latter because of the former. And that's always gonna make you a desired person in a company of people, like someone people are interested to talk to because you have good communication skills, you can make good jokes, make people laugh. So being able to do that is like a goal of mine too, I would say.
Yeah, humor is a social glue.
Yeah,
it brings
exactly,
people
exactly.
together.
Humor is like extremely important. It's like it's so much better when someone has a good sense of humor. So that's a skill, that's a soft skill I want to develop in college too, because that develops your humor, your communication skills, your stage presence, your confidence.
It makes you more charismatic.
It makes you more charismatic, exactly. So it just one skill that builds many soft skills. So that's why I really want to try it.
Right, right. And it's a big turn on for ladies too, right?
Yes,
You're
exactly,
funny.
exactly.
I mean, he's funny, he can cook, he's a mechanical engineer, all in one package. Ladies, come and get him. So I actually like watching stand-up comedy too sometimes. My favorite guy is Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I love Dave Chappelle too.
Yeah.
He's really funny.
Yeah.
He's really, really funny.
By the way, how do you say that, his name? Chappelle or Chappelle?
I think it's Chappelle.
Chappelle.
Dave
Okay,
Chappelle.
Chappelle.
Yeah.
Right. Never paid attention to that. Anyway, this guy always has me in stitches.
Very
So
funny. Yeah, yeah. That's why I
is.
like stand-up comedy. Like you can make jokes about like literally anything.
Yeah.
Like, whatever news are happening in the world. That also like makes you stay up to date with the current situation in the world, so that you can have up to date jokes. So that's an aspect of it I like.
Do you scroll a lot on social media, the internet?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely scroll a
You
lot.
do that. I used to do that too, but then how do you like? How do you know it's too much? How do you know you've like you're just mindlessly scrolling?
Yeah.
Or at this point, are you just accustomed to that?
I think I was scrolling way too much, and then I just like made the decision to stay off my phone. Sometimes just even keep it in my room when I go out to lecture, because whatever, like I don't really need my phone throughout the day. Like if I need to make a call, I can do it through my iPad or like MacBook. And also like one of the biggest things that like enhanced my productivity, I could say, was like removing Telegram from my taskbar at my laptop, because I always like had the need to go on Telegram and check my chats, check my channel, and it was always like a big distraction. So removing it from my taskbar means it's more difficult to get access to it. I had to click the search bar and then type in Telegram to search it and then click on it, and that's just too much work. So that helped a lot
Yeah.
to stay focused during classes.
To me, what happened was my personal experience. I ended up doom scrolling so much to the point I was just going through the motions in life.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually living, right? At that point, I knew something had to change, so I had to make myself a promise to not to scroll on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah,
I don't use Instagram, but it's mostly YouTube and YouTube Shorts. But then once I started doing that, I kind of started feeling disconnected from everything and everyone, and it started feeling like I'm just getting dumber and dumber and dumber because I don't know what's happening around me. I know what's going on out there. So like, and I'm kind of in a dilemma. Should I like go back to my old habit? But like, is it gonna be like the same scenario all over?
I feel like there needs to just be a limit. Like I still scroll every day, but I try to make sure it doesn't happen for more than like an hour and a half a day.
I mean, it's still a lot.
Yeah, it's
An hour
just
and
still a lot. Like it's like
Still
a lot. But that's like a limit I set to myself.
Yeah.
Or like an hour, let's say.
Okay.
Definitely not more than that. And I try to focus more on like long videos on YouTube rather than short reels. So like whenever I feel like I'm bored and I need to do something, like while eating, for example. Before, I used to always just watch YouTube, but now I find myself like scrolling on one hand and then eating with the other hand. So I always prefer putting on a show or like a YouTube video because, first of all, attention span gets back to what it used to be. And I feel like you can learn more from a good YouTube video than you do from YouTube Shorts.
Right. You're also into anime, right?
Yeah, I love
Turns out you like anime.
Yeah.
So what is your most favorite anime of all time?
most definitely Attack on Titan, and then One Piece.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
those are like my two most favorite ones.
Everyone tells me I should watch Attack on Titans. What is it about
Attack
this?
on Titan is crazy good. Like it's considered not just one of the best anime in the world, but it's considered like one of the best. Like if you go to IMDb, it's like in the top 10 of the highest ranked shows of all time. Like it's one of the highest ranked medias on IMDb of all time. And like it's probably the only show, I've heard like it's the show with the most proportion of 9.0 or higher rated episodes on IMDb. So what is it about is basically, there's like a part of the population of the world who are stuck within walls and they cannot escape the walls because there are like titans roaming around outside the walls. So if they go out, like they will get killed and eaten by the titans. That's like the surface level plot. But the reason people love it is because of how well the story is written. Like out of every single movie, show, anime I've watched, the attention to detail, the foreshadowing, the plot twists, the progression of the plot, and the character developments and the incorporation of characters, like just everything that involves a plot, Attack on Titan is probably like the best written plot ever. Like I've watched many really good movies, shows, but nothing came close to Attack on Titan in terms of how much attention to detail there is. It's like the show was written from finish to the beginning, not from the beginning till the end, so that everything is connected. Like it took me like watching it twice to properly understand everything, and then watching a recap on YouTube to then fully understand everything. And there are still to this day like little foreshadowings that I only find out through reels, when someone is like, oh, there was a foreshadowing like this and this, and I'm like, I feel so stupid for not noticing it after even watching the show 3 or 4 times from start to end.
Right. I think there's another anime that comes close to being that detail oriented.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not sure if you've watched this show. It's I forgot the name.
What was the plot about?
No, I'm gonna tell you. It's the main character is Kira.
Death Note.
Death Note.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Death Note is really good. And the plot and everything in Death Note was also really nice. But I feel like Death Note was, throughout the last few episodes, have you watched it? Yeah.
The entire
It's
episode.
amazing, right?
It is.
It's amazing. It's one of the best anime ever written. But after L gets killed, I think it's just rushed. They catch Kira way too quickly. When Mello and the other guy get introduced after L dies, like his predecessors, like his people who continue his act, I feel like it's just very rushed. But apart from that, the attention to detail, the plot progression is really nice. The reason I still believe Attack on Titan is better is because since it has more episodes, they were able to fit in more. And not a single episode feels boring in Attack on Titan. Like everything is there for a purpose. And the way it develops every single season is just extremely crazy. Like there are new things you find about the world, like the world where they live in. And everything just feels purposeful and connected and done for a reason in the plot. Like the more you watch it, the more you understand why things in the past happened. And it has like a nice, like a nice lesson learned out of it too. So I feel like it's a really, really nice anime. And one of the most powerful things about Attack on Titan is that it's written so nice that it shows how media is really able to easily manipulate people into believing absurd things, because the main character basically like kills a bunch of people. The main character wipes out 80% of the population of the world. The main character in Attack on Titan. But still, many people believe that he was not the villain of the story. Like they truly believe that he's not the villain, that he was actually doing it for a good. Just because of how well the purpose and the character development was portrayed and developed in the show and in the writing. So that's something I really like about Attack on Titan. And the writer, his name is Isayama, I think. Like, complete genius. Amazing show. You should definitely watch it.
I will. It's on my watch list now.
Yeah, sure. you should watch it. And then I think the only anime that comes close to Attack on Titan in terms of detail, orientation, and like foreshadowings is One Piece. But it's just way too long for many people to watch it. Like I'm currently on like episode 928.
928.
I've been watching it since grade 8.
How many more episodes to go?
The writer, I think his name is Oda, he mentioned that One Piece is already like 80% done, 70-80% done. That involves 1,000 1,300 chapters of the manga. I think 1,200, 1,300 manga chapters. The anime is just catching up to the manga. But it's nearly done.
insane.
Oda said it will be done in the next 5 years.
I think that's probably the reason why Death Note feels rushed is because the author of manga died
Yeah.
before it was over.
Yeah. That's why the last couple episodes were very rushed, in my opinion. Like, they caught him way too quickly.
Yeah.
Like, there was a 5-year time skip, and then he's caught.
Yeah.
Which didn't really feel natural.
And the part that was a real letdown for me was the way he reacted when he got caught. Like he didn't have that sort of integrity and fearsomeness to handle that situation. Right?
To me, it showed...
He was like throwing a tantrum like kids.
Yeah,
like a
to
kid.
me, it showed like he just went insane. Like at the start, like the progression is basically that in the start, he started as a very intelligent person with good intentions, but he got so carried away in what he believes is true that he developed a god complex and went insane. So that's also a really nice illustration of what happens to people in the world who are like extremely like involved in one field and just get detached from everything else in the world. So I still think it was a pretty realistic conclusion, like the way he acted before he was shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. Anime, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people actually, when you tell them I watch anime, they think you're a kid.
Yeah.
It's like still, I mean, he's still a kid.
What I think
It's like-
is really good about anime is the difference from a cartoon. Like it sits in a very sweet spot between cartoons and movies because cartoons, they're mostly childish, but through animes you can do things which you cannot do in movies. Like you can portray things which you cannot portray in movies. Like how in movies you're going to portray a demon who helps, who gives a person a like a notebook which kills people. Like, so you have more power to show things, but still address serious, important issues like in movies. So you have the ability to basically the creativity to do whatever you want, and where the limit is just your imagination, like you do in cartoons, and then the possibility to tackle real world issues and teach actual important lessons that you have from movies. That's what I believe the strong part about anime is.
Right. Netflix actually made a movie version of Death Note.
And it's horrible.
Yeah, people didn't like that. It
All
was total
live
flop.
actions of animes are horrible. All of them. Like, nobody likes them.
Yeah. Right. Anime. So true. All right. We talked quite a lot about your studies, anime, and Harvard, and everything in between. There is one more part left to go before we wrap it up.
Yep.
It's kind of a tradition we have on this podcast where I'm not sure if you watched our previous episodes.
I've
So
watched like clips, like shorts. They're like you make shorts out of the large videos.
Yeah,
too,
yeah, right.
So I've seen the shorts, but I didn't have the attention span to watch.
good.
all of them.
That means you don't know what's coming next.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I
that's
have no
that's
idea.
good.
I have no idea.
So we're gonna get some authentic answers. So the final part of the podcast, we talk a little philosophy, and there's a set of 3 questions I want to ask to wrap things up. So the first question here is, how would you describe your personal philosophy at this point in life? Who is Abdulaziz and what is he up to?
Try everything until you find something you're passionate about and then settle on it. So I believe like the way I want to live my early 20s is not settle on one thing before I try everything out. And I'm sure that I find the thing I'm most passionate about, and then I settle on it. So I want to try a bunch of extreme stuff too, like jumping from a parachute, snorkeling, or I want to try running a marathon. I want to try becoming an Ironman, like where you triathlon competition. And at the same time, I want to try becoming like someone who consistently like goes to the gym and then plays football, and just try everything. Try to become at least average or above average at many things, which was already my philosophy for a bunch of years. Like there's a lot of stuff which I'm like average, but nothing that I am exceptional about. But a lot of things that I'm average or above average at, which is something I really enjoy because it means I can like fit into many different companies of people. If you're like, oh, let's go bowling, I know I'm not going to embarrass myself because I'm pretty average or at least above average at bowling. Or if they say, let's go ice skating, let's go cycling, let's go rollerblading, let's go running. So I can fit into like many different things that people do. And I want to continue that way, so that I'm someone who can fit into like the academic atmosphere, the athletic atmosphere, the extreme atmosphere, and just make sure I have as many things as possible ticked off on my bucket list before I settle on a career and like earning money.
Yeah.
That's my current philosophy.
It's very refreshing and exuberant, youthful. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do when you're young. Live life to the fullest.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to do right now.
Right. What's one piece of advice you'd give your 15-year-old self, 14, 15-year-old self?
14, 15-year-olds.
Around the time when you're in ninth grade.
Go to the gym consistently.
Okay.
That would be like my number one advice. Because I'm very inconsistent about it. I always work out in the summers and on breaks, and then during the academic year I stop because of I just basically give myself excuses of oh, I have too much stuff to do, and so I would consistently go to the gym like 3 times a week, and then the other thing is be average or above average at many things, but still be really above average at one thing. So I would just find that one thing and just put in more and more effort into it, so that when I arrive at college, I could be like, oh, I'm really good at this. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be an academic subject, or you can be a recognized CSGO player, or a recognized PUBG player, or you can be really good at football or at volleyball. So I would just want to develop that one thing that I am really good at. So that would be my advice.
Interesting. So this podcast right now is being watched by you, the future you.
Okay.
Maybe when you're in your 30s and 40s, you want to kind of reminisce good old days and want to tune in and watch this podcast. So what's something you would want to tell the future you? Is this camera rolling right now? Okay. So you can look at this camera and talk to yourself. Future Abdulaziz.
Future Abdulaziz.
It's this one, actually.
This one?
No, this one.
This one.
This one.
Okay. Yeah. Future Abdulaziz. I hope you ran a marathon by the time you're 30. No, I hope you ran a bunch of marathons and at least one ultra. And I hope you became an Ironman and at least an Ironman 70.3. And I hope you didn't stop going to the gym. I hope you're still eating healthy and you stopped eating fast food. What else? I hope there's this one thing that you are really good at, even though there are many things you should be average or above average at. And I hope you already tried things like skydiving, like gliding, or like cliff diving, bungee jumping, and all these extreme things. And for the 30th birthday, I hope we have traveled at least to 30 countries.
30 countries.
Yeah, 30 countries by 30 years old. That would be fun.
That's a lot of things to do until you turn 30.
Yes.
A lot. But you got a whole decade ahead of you. So.
Yeah, a whole decade. I have 12 years to achieve it. So
that's plenty of time.
Yeah, right? Plenty of time.
Yeah. All sounds quite reasonable to me.
Yeah, everything except the Ironman part.
Why is that?
Because like, you have to learn how to run properly, cycle properly, and swim properly at the
I mean,
same
you got a whole decade ahead of you.
I mean,
So.
yeah, true.
So-
So yeah, I hope that's like my biggest goal, at least an Ironman 70.3, like the half, not half, slightly more than half Ironman, or half Ironman actually.
Right.
That would be very fun.
I've heard about this challenge actually. Can it be dangerous, like when you like burn yourself out, like physically, and possibly like your body collapses halfway?
Well, I think it's more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge. It's more difficult to get your mental state to that level than your physical state. But still, it probably requires at least 3-4 years of training because you have to practice proper swimming technique and proper running technique and proper cycling technique, your endurance, your physical activity. You have to maintain like good fitness, like make sure your BMI is not too high or not too low, and just consistently run, cycle, swim for years and years. And I think that's just like a very large commitment. But I feel like it's achievable.
It is. It is. And it's not really about like becoming an Ironman. It's about the person you grow to become in the process of it, in the process of reaching that milestone.
Recently, I had this like idea of in 4 years, 4 years, a bit more than 4 years, in 2030, for like the year 2030, a special year, hosting an Uzbekistan ultra marathon where the longest distance you can run is from Tashkent to Khiva, but you have like many different ultras in that one ultra too. Like, so the largest distance will be like slightly more than 1,100 kilometers from Tashkent to Khiva, but you can either stop, let's say, at either Samarkand or Bukhara or Khiva. So if you get to Bukhara, it already means that like just push that other half too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to recreate the Uzbek version of Forrest Gump.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Ran
let's
from
see.
the East Coast to West Coast.
Exactly. So if there will be enough people interested, then that's a nice plan for the year 2030 to attract many people from around the world to come to Uzbekistan to run an ultramarathon.
Right. And that would be very punishing and taxing. Like imagine running through deserts and Bukhara and Navayi,
Exactly.
the mountain hills and everything.
Yeah, you run through a desert, through mountains, through the city. So there's many different landscapes you run through. So that adds more fun. And then you have stops at like historical places in like Samarkand and Bukhara. And yeah, you can choose to stop at Samarkand. And Tashkent to Samarkand is already an ultramarathon. So I think it's a nice idea.
Yeah, it is. It's ingenious. And you can make a vlog off of it and probably go viral.
Yeah, delusional, but like delusional plans are like the best ones.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like Steve Jobs says, stay hungry, stay crazy, stay foolish. That's what he says, right? All right, Mr. Abdulaziz, it was a lot of fun talking to you today. I honestly enjoyed every bit of it, every moment of it. I learned quite a lot. And most of all, you kind of reignited my spark, my fire, interest in studies and academics. Probably after this conversation, I'm gonna get more serious about my future education, masters, right? So it's I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast today. I'm sure a lot of students watching this podcast will walk away with lots of useful takeaways and insights, and our community owes a lot to you for coming on the podcast and sharing all this. So thanks again.
Thank you so much for the invite. I actually really enjoyed this conversation too. Like I didn't notice, like I have no idea how many hours passed. Like to me it feels like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah, we've been on for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, these 2.5 hours felt like 20 minutes to me. Yeah. Like I actually really enjoyed talking.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that. And I hope to see you again once again on the podcast, maybe in a few years from now, maybe next year. I mean,
hopefully.
You're right. Yeah.
Just to see how many of the goals I set right now I have achieved.
Yeah. This podcast is going to be kind of a checkpoint. So you come and say,
exactly.
That's what I said last year. I've done half of it. I've done all of it.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool, yeah.
All right. So do you have anything else you want to say before we end this show?
To everyone watching this, I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe and hit the like button.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Appreciate for support. All right, guys. If you enjoyed today's podcast, like you said, go on, subscribe, and hit the like button, and leave your comments in the comment section below. All right, I gotta go now. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.